Hey everyone, this is Derek, aka FirebirdFreak87. Now, for those who are kids or young teenagers growing up in the late 80s and early 90s, I'm pretty sure you've heard of Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, who is Sonic the Hedgehog? Well, he's this blue hedgehog that can run past the speed of sound, collects the gold rings, finds the Chaos Emeralds, and fights this evil fat scientist called Dr. Robotnik, or Dr. Eggman for you younger fans, who wants to take over the world by polluting the environment and having the planet overrun by robots. As we all know, the four Genesis titles, Mega Drive for you in Europe and Japan, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles were planned as one game, and thanks to the lock-on technology, you can play them as one game, including Sonic CD for the Sega CD, and yes, even Sonic Spinball for the Sega Genesis, were part of the golden age of the franchise, with Sonic Adventure as a reboot of the franchise with a Dreamcast release. For Sonic Extreme, which is a Sonic main game series title, it was worked on for the Saturn, but as we all know, that was cancelled, and shortly after, the Saturn bit the dust. After the Dreamcast was discontinued, the story and everything that many fans who grew up with the Blue Boy in the early 1990s were quickly fading away and replaced with pretty much a clone of Dragon Ball Z and Final Fantasy, mostly Dragon Ball Z due to the fact that Yuji Naka, the programmer for the Sonic games, is a fan of Dragon Ball Z, while Takashi Iizuka, currently the director of the Sonic series, is probably, from what I heard, a fan of Final Fantasy, and I'm not sure if that's true or not. And of course, all other anime cliches. So when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog today, we all know the story about his hit and misses. But if there's going to be a Sonic movie, it's going to be debated about what it's going to be like and everything until it happens. So I made a list of steps on what I think a Sonic movie should be about. Step 1. Have it start right when Sonic made his debut. What I mean on this is have it start right at the very first game. Now, many people want Sega to reboot the Sonic franchise by going back to Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on the Genesis is the first game, not Sonic Adventure. Now, up until this point, everything original has pretty much been thrown away for no logic or reason. And on a side note, many video games that have been made into a movie have been a failure. Originality is your friend. Stick to it. Step 2. A good written story. The problem with Sonic games today is that many Sonic titles either take itself too seriously or too lightly. Also, many are either rehashes of the adventure plot or plots taken from Dragon Ball Z or Final Fantasy, or both. I've seen many fans write stories or fanfics that stay true to what made Sonic from the old days, so why not hire them to write a decent story? Also, why not get the writers from many of the Sonic cartoons or other cartoons from the late 80s or early 90s? SatAM, despite what everyone says, is among those shows that have many well-written stories and character development. It shouldn't be that hard to try and make a well-written storyline to stay true to what made Sonic from the start, aka his roots. However, there is a matter of making the story either light-hearted for a younger audience or a darker setting for an older audience. For me, it shouldn't be that hard to make a story that's dark and gritty and yet bright and colorful at the same time. Whether there is a way to balance the light-hearted tone and the darker tone for a well-written story, I'll leave that up to all of you guys for a short debate. Step 3. Characters. The problems I've been hearing on the franchise lately is that the Sega and Sonic team have added new characters in every game, and as a Knothole resident said in one of his videos, which is now deleted, they'll assume that we will accept it. Assuming that there is a trilogy or two trilogies planned, the first Sonic movie should only have a few characters. The animals that are freed from the Badniks, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik. And yes, that is his full name. As for Tails, he could probably show up later in the movie or maybe a sequel. For Amy, and yes, I'm talking classic Amy, most likely a sequel, maybe for the CD adaptation. Characters should only be included when they're needed, not to fill up the space. But when you do need more characters, it's best to choose the right ones that fans will like and are important to the story. No Shadow or any other modern characters. They should only be included if or when there is another trilogy and it favors the Sonic Adventure storylines. And yes, I am talking about the SatAM / Archie and Fleetway characters, since someone said they have as much right to be in the Sonic games and other material as the other characters we have now. But like I said, use as few characters as possible and make sure they are important to the story. Step 4. Design. Now, the problems I see with video games turned into a movie, in fact, many adaptations from anywhere turn into movies, even comic books, is that sometimes they don't get the look and feel of everything right. So, what I was thinking for the Sonic movie, it should keep the look and feel of practically the first Sonic games. Green Hill Zone should look like Green Hill, and every other zone should keep its look from the games. Also, one thing, Sonic should look like Sonic when he debuted, not when he was rebooted in Sonic Adventure and onward. And that includes Robotnik or Eggman, whatever you want to call him. And what I mean is that Sonic should look like what he used to when his first game was released, not in Sonic Adventure when he had the green eyes. So yeah, Sonic should have the short quills and sphere body. And in case you're wondering, no, I am not talking about the Sonic the Hedgehog 4 character design. Nuh-uh, no way, no how. That is for another time. What I'm talking about is what Sonic should look like in a possible movie, not a future game. I'll get to that some other time. I know many newer fans will be confused, but it's best to stick to the original design. And of course, that design that made Sonic practically making him look good in the beginning. So as long as everything looks iconic and part of the story, and not looking like it was copied and pasted from somewhere else like Sega always do today, then hopefully the movie will be guaranteed to succeed. Step 5. Target audience. Back when Sonic first came out in 1991, Sega's target audience was practically everyone, and to finish the story, their game was a huge hit and they finally beat Nintendo. These days, they have their Sonic games only aimed at children. Recently, they admitted their target audience, from now on is 12 and under. Yeah, I know. For a Sonic movie, and if Sega were to try and make it successful, I say have it targeted at everyone, either fans who just got into Sonic and those who have been fans of Sonic for many years. For the rating, I highly doubt that an R-rated Sonic movie would be a good idea. So most likely a true Sonic movie will be around PG or PG-13 rated in the United States, or those who understand what it is. Now, if the story is too dark, it'll be PG-13. Well, my guess anyway. But my feeling is that if this movie is ever to be made, it'll most likely be PG. If the storyline is dark and there are also some lighthearted parts that are well balanced and well written. So if you want a Sonic movie to succeed, best to aim it at as many people as possible, even to non-Sonic fans.